The office erupted in chaos as a piercing alarm blared, shattering the stillness of the morning. Amelia froze, her heart pounding against her ribs. She hadn't expected this. The security breach was sudden, merciless. "Stay calm," she whispered to herself, though her hands trembled uncontrollably. Papers flew through the air, caught in the ventilation draft, and a colleague shouted for everyone to evacuate immediately. Her mind raced, memories of past failures clawed at her confidence. She knew she had to act, even if fear anchored her in place. Every instinct screamed, move or be crushed. The fluorescent lights flickered, casting long, anxious shadows across the room. The smell of smoke and burnt electronics filled her nostrils. Someone screamed from the hallway, and Amelia felt the full weight of her responsibility pressing down. In a flash, she realized she could either succumb to panic or take control. She inhaled deeply, forcing her shaking legs to step forward. "I can do this," she said, barely audible, the words more promise than statement. Amelia's heart pounded as she guided her colleagues toward the emergency exit. Fear gripped her chest like iron, but she refused to falter. The alarms shrieked above, echoing off the walls, and the smoke thickened with every step. She noticed the fire extinguisher flicker in the corner, a reminder of the potential disaster. "Keep moving," she urged, her voice cracking yet firm. Faces around her mirrored panic, eyes wide, breaths shallow. Each second felt stretched, as though time itself slowed. She clenched her fists, determined to push forward despite the chaos. A burning scent filled the air, acrid and suffocating. The fluorescent lights sputtered overhead, shadows dancing on the walls. Amelia felt a wave of helplessness threaten to consume her, but she refused to succumb. Her training, though minimal, whispered a fragile confidence. She inhaled sharply, forcing herself to focus on what mattered. Survival, safety, action. Amelia's mind raced as she evaluated the nearest exit. The back staircase was partially blocked by debris, forcing them to reroute to the main corridor. She could hear her own heartbeat echoing like a drum, each thump a reminder of her fragility. Yet amidst the panic, a strange clarity emerged. She had to lead. Every step demanded courage she hadn't realized she possessed. One colleague stumbled and Amelia instinctively reached out, steadying them before they fell. The alarms continued their relentless wail, amplifying her tension. Dust and smoke clung to her skin, making every breath a struggle. Her inner dialogue pushed her forward. "You are stronger than fear." For a fleeting moment, she glimpsed the determination etched on every colleague's face, and it fueled her resolve. She refused to let terror dictate her actions. Forward, always forward, even if uncertainty loomed like a shadow over every turn. The main corridor opened into the atrium, where sunlight streamed in through shattered windows. The chaos amplified, colleagues shouting, alarms blaring, smoke curling into the sunlight. Amelia took a deep breath, forcing her legs to move despite the burning scent in the air. Her eyes scanned for the safest path, ignoring her own trembling hands. Panic threatened to overtake her, but a spark of determination ignited in her chest. "We're almost there," she urged, her voice rising above the cacophony. The fire seemed to consume everything in its path, but she refused to look back. Each step forward was a triumph over fear. The atrium's marble floor reflected the chaos, flickering in the sunlight and red emergency lights. Amelia's mind catalogued the exits, planning their final dash. She felt the weight of responsibility as if it were a physical burden pressing on her shoulders. Yet, every pulse of fear was matched by an equal pulse of courage. Amelia reached the final exit, her lungs burning, heart hammering, but a sense of control began to return. The outside air hit her like a wave, filled with distant sirens and the smell of scorched metal. Colleagues spilled out behind her, their fear mingling with relief. She exhaled slowly, feeling the first tremors of calm after the storm. The fire still raged inside, but the immediate danger had passed. She looked back briefly, taking in the chaos she had navigated. Gratitude, fear, and exhaustion collided in her chest. Every step she had taken had been a victory over her inner doubts. The sunlight bathed her face, highlighting both fatigue and resilience. Amelia's gaze swept across the emergency responders arriving, and she knew the ordeal was only partially over. Yet, in this brief moment, she allowed herself a private acknowledgement. She had survived, and she had led. Courage, she realized, was not the absence of fear but the mastery of it. The sun had barely risen, casting a soft golden glow over the evacuated office plaza. Amelia leaned against a barricade, her breath still uneven, sweat cooling on her forehead. The fire inside the building crackled behind emergency crews, smoke curling skyward. Colleagues milled around, some crying, others silently staring at the ruin. Amelia's mind refused to rest. Questions gnawed at her focus. How had the breach occurred? Why had the alarms failed so catastrophically? A detective approached, notebook in hand, sharp eyes scanning the perimeter. Amelia straightened, trying to mask the tremor in her voice as she described events. She noticed the tension etched on her coworkers' faces, mirrored anxiety in their posture. A sense of responsibility, heavy as lead, settled in her chest. She realized this was only the beginning of a longer storm, one that would test every skill she had, or thought she had. Her gaze shifted to the smoke, curling like a sinister ribbon into the sky, and she understood the world had changed in the 6 hours since the alarm blared. Inside the command tent, Amelia watched investigators sift through charred debris. Every discarded paper and scorched circuit seemed to whisper secrets. A forensic analyst lifted fragments of a server, eyes narrowing as he examined the damage. Amelia noted the flicker of uncertainty on his face. Even experts struggled to unravel what had transpired. She clenched her fists, feeling both helpless and determined. She needed answers. Someone needed answers. Her colleagues huddled nearby, whispering theories, voices low, tense. The acrid smell of burnt plastic filled the tent. Amelia's mind raced through every step of the evacuation, replaying choices, searching for overlooked clues. Her inner voice reminded her, courage is action even in uncertainty. She focused on the investigation, observing, cataloging, preparing to intervene if necessary. The sun outside climbed higher, casting sharp shadows across the tent canvas, highlighting dust motes and scattered debris in streaks of light. She understood the day would be long, and nothing would be simple. Amelia stepped away from the tent, seeking air and clarity. A sudden noise, a distant siren combined with a crackle from the ruined office, made her jump. The plaza seemed deserted now, except for the emergency crews coordinating quietly. Her mind replayed fragments of the breach, lingering on small anomalies she had noticed. The faint smell of chemicals before the alarm, the way certain circuits had sparked. A chill ran down her spine. It wasn't just an accident. Amelia's intuition screamed a hidden hand behind the chaos. She glanced at colleagues regrouping, uncertain if they sensed the same danger. The day had begun as ordinary, yet it had fractured into an intricate puzzle of fear and revelation. Amelia's pulse accelerated. She realized she was not just a survivor, but a witness to something far more deliberate. The wind shifted, carrying smoke and the faint smell of scorched metal across the plaza. Her eyes narrowed, determination hardening. She would uncover the truth no matter the risk. By midday, investigators had cordoned off the office entirely. Amelia lingered at the edge, refusing to leave. Her eyes scanned the scene, noting anomalies. Scorch marks inconsistent with the fire's path, suspicious wires among debris. Each detail whispered possibilities, each possibility hinting at deliberate sabotage. She caught the glance of a senior officer, nodding imperceptibly, acknowledging her presence and insight. Amelia's colleagues were weary, some crying, others lost in thought. The plaza was a patchwork of emotion: fear, relief, suspicion. Amelia felt a resolve deepen within her. She could not leave questions unanswered. Every instinct demanded that she probe further, even if it meant venturing closer to danger. Smoke drifted lazily in the sunlight, carrying a scent of chemicals that made her stomach tighten. The wind picked up, shifting debris and papers across the empty plaza. Her heartbeat slowed only slightly, but focus sharpened, Clarity emerged from chaos and she seized it. Amelia returned to the tent as night approached, shadows stretching long across the plaza. The fire had been extinguished, but investigation lights glowed, illuminating charred ruins. Every investigator moved with purpose, yet tension lingered like a living entity. Amelia catalogued each fragment of information in her mind, forming patterns connecting anomalies. She noticed subtle interactions, officers exchanging knowing looks, analysts whispering quietly. The plaza felt transformed, no longer just a workplace, but a battlefield of questions and half-truths. Amelia's resolve hardened. She would not allow uncertainty to dominate. Her colleagues sought rest, but she lingered, absorbing every detail, aware that the night would bring new revelations. The last rays of sunlight hit the burnt office facade, painting it with orange and crimson. Amelia inhaled deeply, bracing herself for the challenges ahead, aware that courage now required action beyond survival. Night had fallen over the city, the plaza now bathed in cold, bluish emergency lights. Amelia paced near the perimeter, eyes sharp, heart racing. The quiet was deceptive. Only the hum of distant generators broke the silence. Every charred fragment and scorched document replayed in her mind. Her instinct screamed that the sabotage was intentional, calculated, and ongoing. Shadows danced across the ruined building facade as investigators moved methodically, documenting every anomaly. Amelia noticed a figure slipping behind a barricade, quick and deliberate. Her pulse quickened. The tension was tangible. The plaza smelled of smoke, wet concrete, and lingering chemicals. She clenched her fists, determined not to let fear dictate her next move. Night deepened, and Amelia felt the weight of responsibility pressing heavily on her shoulders. Every choice she made tonight could tip the balance between truth and continued deception. Inside the investigation tent, Amelia joined the lead detective, reviewing CCTV footage. The glow from the monitors cast eerie highlights on her face. Frames flickered, revealing glimpses of someone manipulating office circuits before the fire. Amelia's stomach tightened as recognition struck. The intruder moved with the precision of someone familiar with the building. Her mind raced, connecting previous anomalies to this new evidence. The detective leaned in, his expression unreadable, then nodded subtly toward her, acknowledging her insight. Around them, analysts murmured quietly, absorbed in documentation. Amelia felt a surge of urgency. The puzzle was nearly solved, but danger was close. Time became a pressing force, and every second counted. Outside, wind rattled the tent, carrying the faint scent of burning metal and damp earth. Amelia's determination solidified. She would confront the truth, no matter the cost. A sudden alert on the tent's communication system drew Amelia's attention. Security cameras detected movement near the building's perimeter. She grabbed her flashlight, heart pounding, and stepped outside into the crisp night air. Figures were silhouetted against emergency lights, darting among debris. Amelia's breath was visible, small clouds in the cold air, each step careful yet urgent. She spotted a shadow slipping into an alley behind the plaza. Instinct propelled her forward. She could not ignore this lead. Her colleagues, now aware of her pursuit, called out warnings, but Amelia pressed on. The city's nightscape framed her urgency. Empty streets, flickering neon signs, and distant sirens added tension. Every motion mattered. Every sound sharpened her senses. She was on the verge of a confrontation that could unravel the mystery and reveal the perpetrator's identity. Fear and adrenaline interwove into a single, sharp focus. The alley was narrow, littered with debris and discarded tools. Amelia's flashlight beams sliced through the darkness. The figure ahead turned, revealing a masked intruder, athletic build, black clothing, gloved hands gripping a briefcase. He froze, recognizing Amelia's determined approach. The night held its breath. Distant city sounds faded to a low hum. Amelia demanded answers, her voice firm yet controlled. The intruder hesitated, then lunged, sparks from metal striking the ground. Amelia dodged instinctively, realizing confrontation was inevitable. Her mind raced, calculating angles, paths, and leverage. every muscle tensed for action, yet she sought clarity rather than chaos. The briefcase's contents could be the key to unraveling the sabotage. Shadows twisted on the brick walls, emphasizing the dangerous proximity. The chase had begun, and Amelia's courage would be tested beyond endurance. Amelia cornered the intruder near the alley's exit. She raised her voice, demanding the truth. The intruder's mask shifted slightly, revealing a familiar face, triggering shock. His expression, half fear and half resolve, mirrored her own disbelief. The briefcase fell, papers spilling, revealing blueprints and schematics. Amelia scanned the documents, confirming her suspicions: deliberate sabotage, internal complicity. Her pulse slowed, replaced by a cold clarity. The intruder dropped to his knees, surrendering. Amelia exhaled sharply, tension leaving her shoulders in controlled release. City lights glimmered above. The night transformed from a battlefield into a stage of revelation. She realized the struggle was not over. Legal and moral consequences loomed. Yet she had uncovered the truth, and justice, though delayed, was within reach. The cool night air carried relief, mingled with the faint scent of smoke and burnt metal, signaling the end of the night's ordeal. Dawn broke over the city, painting the skyline in soft golden hues. Amelia stood atop the plaza steps, surveying the aftermath. Rubble had been cleared, investigators were still cataloging evidence, and the intruder had been taken into custody. Her uniform was slightly disheveled, hair damp from sweat, but her posture radiated calm authority. Citizens cautiously returned, curious but relieved. The plaza, once a battlefield of fire and tension, now felt surreal, peaceful yet scarred. Amelia replayed the night's events, processing every decision, every risk she had taken. A gentle breeze carried the scent of charred wood and fresh morning air. Her heart still thumped with residual adrenaline, but clarity replaced fear. Justice had begun its path, yet she knew accountability extended beyond arrests. Reflection settled in her mind. The city had survived, and she had survived with it, stronger, wiser, and vigilant. Inside the precinct, Amelia met with the lead detective, reviewing final reports. The room smelled faintly of coffee and paper. Documents and photographs detailed the sabotage and the intruder's actions. Amelia's eyes scanned the reports. Patterns of negligence and corruption emerged. The detective nodded toward her, silent approval in his gaze. Her colleagues, officers, whispered among themselves, relief evident in their expressions. Amelia felt both pride and weight of responsibility. The city's trust rested on their careful work. She leaned against the edge of the desk, taking a deep breath. Light streamed through the window, casting long shadows on the floor. The room was quiet, yet charged with a sense of resolution. Amelia realized that the night's ordeal had changed her approach to vigilance and leadership. Lessons of trust, intuition, and courage would guide her forward. Amelia returned to the office building site, now cordoned for reconstruction. She traced her fingers along the remnants of the office walls, envisioning the space restored. Her mind lingered on the intruder, now in custody, facing justice. She thought of co-workers, some anxious, some relieved, each adjusting to the aftermath. A construction crew moved in, workers hammering and sweeping, breathing new life into the damaged building. Amelia's phone buzzed, a colleague updating her on legal proceedings. She smiled faintly, proud yet contemplative. The city's pulse was returning to normal, yet every step forward was a reminder of fragility and vigilance. Amelia's boots crunched softly over gravel, her coat flapping in the morning wind. Sunlight glimmered on broken glass and steel, hinting at recovery. She inhaled deeply, absorbing the scent of dust, cement, and promise of renewal. This moment marked both an ending and a beginning. Later that day, Amelia met with city officials in the municipal hall. The room was formal, adorned with polished wood and large windows, letting in sunlight. Officials discussed policy reforms, security upgrades, and preventive measures. Amelia presented her observations, speaking with composed authority. Her notes, carefully compiled, outlined lessons learned from the sabotage and the response. Officials listened intently, occasionally nodding or asking pointed questions. Amelia's calm demeanor contrasted with the weight of her experience. Outside, the city thrummed with renewed activity. Trams, bicycles, and pedestrians moving seamlessly through streets. Her words carried impact. Decisions made here would affect countless lives. She felt the satisfaction of contribution, knowing that vigilance, strategy, and courage had changed the course of events. Responsibility was heavy, but clarity, experience, and resolve empowered her. As evening fell, Amelia walked along the city's riverside promenade, reflecting quiet. Lights shimmered on the water, and soft breeze carried scents of the city: baked bread, wet asphalt, faint smoke from morning fires. She paused, watching children play nearby and couples strolling, normalcy restored. Amelia's mind traced the journey: fear, confrontation, revelation, and resolution. Each moment reinforced her belief in vigilance, courage, and community. She felt a subtle smile curve her lips, recognizing growth forged through adversity. The intruder's capture, city recovery, and institutional lessons completed the cycle of this ordeal. Her silhouette merged with the city lights, quiet yet resolute. Nightfall approached, but she walked forward confidently, ready for challenges ahead, knowing that vigilance, courage, and integrity would always be her guide. The city breathed with renewed rhythm, and Amelia felt herself at peace, at least for now. Morning dawned on the city, serene and vibrant. Amelia stood at the rooftop of her apartment building, overlooking the skyline. Smoke from past destruction was gone, replaced by gleaming rooftops and bustling streets. She sipped coffee, warmth radiating through her hands, reflecting on the journey. Memories of the intruder, chaos, and rescue missions replayed in her mind, each decision weighing on her conscience. Yet a sense of accomplishment surged within. Lives had been protected, trust restored. Her uniform from the previous night lay folded nearby, a reminder of the endurance required. Birds swooped across the sky, the breeze brushing against her face. Amelia inhaled deeply, absorbing the calm, feeling connected to the city she had defended. The skyline glimmered under the rising sun, symbolizing hope, vigilance, and the beginning of a new chapter. Amelia joined her team at the Central Park for a brief ceremony honoring their courage. Officers stood in neat formation, proud and solemn. Speeches highlighted bravery, teamwork, and community resilience. Amelia felt gratitude for each colleague, remembering their sacrifices and tireless efforts. Citizens, adults, and children clapped and waved from the sidelines, showing appreciation. Balloons and banners fluttered gently in the morning breeze. Amelia smiled faintly, acknowledging applause, yet her eyes scanned faces for those who needed reassurance. Each gesture, each word spoken, strengthened community bonds. The sun shone brightly, glinting off medals and badges. Moments of reflection intertwined with celebration, bridging past hardship with hopeful continuation. Amelia realized that the night's turmoil had transformed her team, the city, and herself in ways that would endure. Later, Amelia visited the site of the intruder's arrest. Police vehicles and officers mixed gender, maintained security while forensic teams collected final evidence. The intruder was escorted quietly, handcuffed, head lowered. Amelia observed from a distance, emotions a mix of relief and contemplation. She thought about justice, accountability, and second chances. Citizens nearby watched cautiously but curiously, whispers spreading through the small crowd. Amelia felt the weight of societal responsibility: law upheld, trust restored, and lessons learned. The sun dipped slightly, casting long shadows across the street. Her heart, though still heavy with memories of danger, was lighter knowing that lives were safeguarded. She gave a subtle nod to the officers, signaling approval of their professionalism. This quiet moment reinforced her belief that courage and diligence could change outcomes, preserving hope in an unpredictable world. As twilight approached, Amelia returned home, greeted by the soft hum of city life. Streets glimmered with neon signs and vehicle lights, reflecting on wet asphalt from a brief evening rain. Children laughed nearby, couples strolled hand in hand, and shopkeepers closed for the night. Amelia's apartment felt inviting, warm light spilling through windows, aroma of evening tea lingering. She set her belongings down and gazed at the skyline once more. Reflection filled her mind, the journey from fear to resolution, the growth of trust and leadership, and the enduring bonds forged with colleagues and citizens. Her hands traced the edges of a small photo, a reminder of those she had protected and lost along the way. Night enveloped the city gradually, yet Amelia felt a sense of calm, vigilance tempered by hope. The city had survived, and she had endured, stronger and wiser. Night settled over the city, stars faintly visible above skyscrapers. Amelia, seated by her window, journal in hand, penned reflections on courage, resilience, and community. She wrote of lessons learned. Vigilance is vital, empathy essential, and leadership requires patience and integrity. Her thoughts drifted to the team, the city, and the lives impacted by their actions. The moon cast silver light across the streets, shimmering on rooftops and river surfaces. Amelia closed her journal, a serene smile crossing her face. She felt readiness for whatever future challenges awaited, confident in her abilities and the strength of those around her. The city slept peacefully, and for the first time in many days, Amelia allowed herself to rest fully, the trials of past nights replaced with hope, reflection, and renewal. Tomorrow promised new opportunities, guided by lessons etched into memory. Months had passed since the crisis. Amelia walked through the city streets with a calm, confident stride. Trees bloomed along avenues, and cafes were bustling with laughter. Citizens recognized her, offering smiles and waves. The city's pulse felt steady, alive, and harmonious. Amelia reflected on her personal growth, resilience, empathy, and patience now ingrained into her daily life. She visited community centers where children learned about safety and courage, sharing stories of bravery without fear or exaggeration. Each interaction, each smile, reinforced the significance of her work. Sunlight filtered through leaves, glinting on polished surfaces. The memory of past chaos was distant, yet remembered, shaping her leadership and guiding her path. Amelia realized that heroism wasn't in dramatic acts alone, but in the quiet persistence of care and vigilance. Amelia visited the memorial dedicated to those affected by the crisis. Flowers adorned the site, fresh and vibrant, with candles flickering softly in remembrance. She paused, hands folded respectfully, reflecting on sacrifices made. Names engraved on plaques whispered stories of courage and resilience. Families gathered quietly, offering smiles of gratitude to first responders and volunteers. Amelia felt both pride and humility. Life had continued, but memories remained alive in the hearts of those who endured. A gentle breeze carried petals across the memorial, adding motion to still remembrance. The city seemed to honor both growth and memory simultaneously. Amelia took a deep breath, feeling the weight of responsibility balanced by the joy of seeing communities rebuild and flourish. Her gaze lifted toward the sky, the sun illuminating the scene with golden warmth. Amelia returned to her apartment to find her team visiting unexpectedly. Officers and colleagues brought snacks, laughter, and stories from their new assignments. Amelia smiled warmly, embracing camaraderie and friendship. Conversations flowed effortlessly, mingling humor with reflections on past challenges. The room was filled with sunlight streaming through wide windows, highlighting happy faces. The team shared updates on community programs they initiated, inspiring growth and hope. Amelia realized that leadership extended beyond responsibility. It was about fostering relationships, trust, and collaboration. Moments like these reminded her that bonds forged in crisis could sustain joy and resilience in ordinary life. Laughter echoed as coffee was poured, photos shared, and memories relived, leaving the evening imbued with warmth and connection. Night fell gently over the city. Amelia walked along the riverfront, reflections of neon lights shimmering on the calm water. Her journal and camera hung by her side, capturing ordinary moments, made extraordinary by memory. The city felt alive yet peaceful, a balance she had helped preserve. She paused at a bridge, observing couples, families, and solitary walkers, recognizing the quiet courage in everyday lives. Amelia thought about lessons learned. Resilience, vigilance, and empathy formed the foundation of thriving communities. She allowed herself a contented smile, feeling a connection to every heartbeat in the city. The moon rose slowly, silver light bathing the streets, and she realized that her journey wasn't just about heroic acts, but about the enduring impact of hope, reflection, and persistent care. The night whispered serenity, and Amelia embraced it fully. As the city slept, Amelia returned to her apartment balcony. Stars glittered faintly in the sky, and distant sounds of the city offered a lullaby of calm activity. She sat, 29, female, pen in hand, writing reflections on courage, growth, and hope. Her heart felt lighter, her mind clearer, and her spirit renewed. Every challenge faced had shaped her perspective, strengthening compassion and patience. She reviewed photos and notes from previous months, smiling at small victories and human kindness she witnessed. The night was quiet, yet full of potential, a reminder that each day brought opportunities to foster resilience and community. Amelia closed her journal, leaned back, and watched the city lights twinkle, feeling fulfilled, connected, and ready for tomorrow's unknowns. The epilogue of her journey was not an ending, but a promise of continued vigilance, hope, and quiet heroism. 3 years had passed. Amelia, now a mentor and community leader, walked through a renovated city square. Children played around fountains, couples strolled, and artists painted murals on newly restored walls. The city buzzed with life, safe and vibrant. Amelia paused, observing the harmony she had helped cultivate, feeling a quiet satisfaction. She spoke to young volunteers about responsibility, courage, and the importance of everyday heroism. Each word carried weight, shaped by experience, yet delivered with warmth. Citizens recognized her instantly, smiling and nodding. Sunlight bathed the square in golden tones, illuminating the laughter and movement around her. The air smelled of fresh paint and blooming flowers, hinting at renewal. Amelia realized that leadership extended beyond action. It was about fostering enduring hope and trust in others. Amelia visited a new library she had helped fund. Inside, she watched young students engaged with interactive exhibits. Knowledge and curiosity filled the air, mixing with quiet murmurs and laughter. Shelves glimmered under soft lighting, displaying books and digital learning tools. Amelia knelt to assist a child, explaining science concepts with patience and humor. Her influence extended beyond the city square, touching lives in subtle but lasting ways. Educators praised her dedication, and she quietly noted each small accomplishment, knowing that nurturing future generations was as heroic as any daring rescue. The day's sunlight streamed through tall windows, illuminating faces bright with curiosity. Amelia felt a profound connection to the community, understanding that the seed she had planted now flourished. Evening approached, painting the city in shades of pink and violet. Amelia walked along a rooftop garden she helped design. Volunteers trimmed plants, installed lights, and organized seating areas. She stopped to watch the sunset reflect off the skyline, the city glowing in harmonious colors. She reflected on personal growth, noting that patience, empathy, and collaboration had become her guiding principles. Community members approached, sharing stories of inspiration and challenges overcome. Amelia listened attentively, offering guidance and encouragement. The gentle hum of the city below mixed with distant music from street performers. Her heart swelled with pride, realizing that her influence was woven into the city's fabric, inspiring creativity, safety, and mutual respect. The night promised continuity and new beginnings. Night descended gently. Amelia hosted a community storytelling circle in a lantern-lit courtyard. Citizens of all ages gathered, sharing personal tales, laughter, and lessons. She facilitated conversations, ensuring every voice was heard. The soft glow of lanterns illuminated smiling faces, casting shadows that danced across walls. Children listened with rapt attention, while elders nodded thoughtfully, connecting past experiences with present growth. Amelia reflected on how unity and shared understanding strengthened society. Each story reinforced resilience, empathy, and responsibility. Her own story, quietly shared, inspired courage without intimidation. The courtyard buzzed with warmth, laughter, and hope, offering a living testament to the enduring impact of collective effort, care, and leadership. As midnight approached, Amelia stood at the city's observation deck. The skyline twinkled with thousands of lights, streets humming softly below. She held a notebook, recording reflections on leadership, resilience, and hope. Each note captured lessons learned and visions for future generations. She watched a drone release lanterns into the sky, each representing a dream, a memory, or a promise. Amelia felt the city's heartbeat sync with hers, a silent bond of mutual growth and care. The night air was crisp, carrying faint scents of flowers and distant celebrations. She understood that heroism was no longer about singular acts, but about nurturing potential, inspiring trust, and creating spaces where everyone could flourish. Her gaze lingered on the horizon, filled with quiet determination and optimism.